Well, alongside myself, Nick Fellows, in the commentary box, there's our resident sumo expert, Sid Hoare, the Vice President of the European Sumo Federation and the President of our own British Sumo Federation. Yes, we do have our own federation back home in the UK, and Sid will be talking us through the moves and the skills of each and every one of these gentle giants who will soon become known to us all as quite skillful and powerful athletes. This is the first round, and some of the big guns come very early on, Sid.
It looks like the judges, which is not the gyoji or the referee, the judges are now taking their seats around the side. These are the elders who retired top sumo men themselves. And if the referee makes a mistake, they have the right to overrule him, in which case they come into the ring and have a conference, monoi it's called, and make a decision.
Well, a quick brief on the rules of the sport. They're very simple. You win if you push your opponent out of the ring, or any part of his body other than the soles of his feet touches the ground by being thrown inside of the ring.
Now this, the yobidashi is called out Taka no Hana in his high-pitched voice. This is the grand champion, and he should be fighting Tosanumi, very low-ranking wrestler, roughly about the same weight, and from a different stable. And as we've seen already, when they come into the ring, they go through these 4 minutes of ritual. The referee there coming in with the names as well. Taka no Hana and Tosanumi.
So there is Tosanumi, as we pointed out, very much the underdog in this competition. Taka no Hana, the grand champion, favourite to go all the way in this event. Taka no Hana in the green, Tosanumi in the blue. Now this will be very quick and explosive once it gets underway. Now Taka no Hana, the 23-year-old grand champion, really has revitalized Japanese patriotism in this sport. There, an indication of his excellent form of late, and recently had a win over Akibono, the other grand champion, in the other half of this evening's draw. So really is the big favourites to win here this evening.
The wrestlers are meant to coordinate their movements, but sometimes one wrestler's in a hurry to get moving and the other one's a little bit hesitant, and so they get slightly out of sync. But the whole everything must be geared to the tachiai, which is the start, and this, according to the rules, must be done fairly, which means they must both start together. Not absolutely necessary for both knuckles of each fighter to touch the line, but they must start at the same time. If they don't, the referee will stop them, and they'll have to do it again. Now the judge referee has said time's up, and Taka no Hana goes in there. He's got the slight advantage, he's moving forward, and he's got his inside right hand, his strong hand, on the belt, and disposes of Tosanumi without much trouble at all.
So the honours given to Taka no Hana, and hardly surprising with the kind of form that he's brought. And a grand champion really is something very special indeed. A very, very wealthy man indeed. He's paid around about £13,000 a month, and then there's prize money, sponsorship money, or patron money on top of that.
The money that he gets paid monthly is only the tip of the iceberg. Nobody really knows how much these top champions get. Certainly his official salary is £13,000 a month, but fans will quite often push 10,000 yen notes into his belt when he's out and about, and collect quite a few of those each day.
So the second bout is Mizugisato and Hamanoshima.
These two fighters are about the same rank. They're both Mai Gashira, which is about 4th rank down. And these are the foot soldiers of the top division. In any tournament, the grand champions will warm up on these people. Occasionally they slip or they lose, but this is where they get their early wins until they finally fight the other grand champions or the champions.
1m85, 158 kilograms for the 33-year-old Mizugazato, who's fighting from the east side in the green belt, and Hamanoshima comes in at 131 kilos, so quite suited in weight and height. 8 years the junior, Hamanoshima. This one should be quite close.
Both have won prizes in top tournaments. Hamanoshima has won the Outstanding Performer Prize, and Misugi Sato has won the Fighting Spirit Prize. So we've got two similar sorts of prizes, really. Strong fighters. Both have been up higher ranks. They've slipped down a bit. Originally both were Komusubi, which is next rank up. Yet another crouch down, another shikiri. The referee hasn't said time's up. But if you watch the referee's fan, when he turns the fan face on, but not side on, it's usually an indication that for them to start. So if we watch the fan this time, maybe we'll see. He said Jikan desu, so there we see the fan flat on, so we know they're about to go. There's a beautiful technique, right on the edge of the ring. Never quite sure in situations like that who's won. This is where the judges come into their own and they'll indicate who they thought who won. But
it looks, by our account, to be Mizugi Sato.
Mizugi Sato gets it.
And that was very close indeed. Well, hanging on, just turning his opponents. Here's a slow-mo here, Sid. It really was a tremendous move. From our camera angle, it looked like he'd run out of space and room completely.
Yeah, he's got the inside grip. The double hand grip inside is always reckoned to be the stronger grip. And there he's on the edge, twisting, turning. There you see all the turns that can change victory to defeat. But the other man's, even though he's got the overhead grip, is turning, arching, and he touches down before the other one. It can be quite tricky, the decisions in these moments.
At this point, it's thought that it was going to the blue belt, Hamanoshima, but there, Mizugazato just turns his man in time and goes through to the next round. Well, the next bout is Kenko against Daishi. And for those of you that thought Kenko was a coffee, the translation of this gentleman's name actually means shining sword, not coffee bean, Sid.
It's Kenko. He's a bit of a giant killer. He's got a kinboshi, what they call a kinboshi, which is a gold star, which means he's beaten a yokozuna in previous tournaments. And he's won an Outstanding Performer Prize. Not easy to get by any means. Each tournament there are 3 prizes: the Fighting Spirit Prize, the Technique Prize, and the Outstanding Performer Prize.
Well, the graphic there indicating the level that each performer is at. Now we look at the weight of Kenko, 28 years of age, 140 kilograms, 1m91, so long levers, a lot of height as well as strength to draw upon.
He's about 4 inches taller than the other fellow, and 4 stone heavier. Or rather, the other one's 4 stone heavier, but Kenko is 4 inches taller.
And that confirms what you're just saying, Sid. 26 years of age, 1m81 in height. So Kenko in the green and Daishi in the dark blue belt.
Daishi apparently is a great karaoke man in his spare time. I often see him on Japanese television. He's got a good voice. And it's time to go. And Kenko wins.
Really interesting to note the continual banter almost from the referee.
Yeah, the referee says "Nokotta, nokotta, nokotta," which means you're still in, you're still in. In other words, keep going. And here you see Kenko for throat thrusts, Norodowazeme, then going for the belt. Notice the twisting and turning the whole time. And
so Kenko goes through in the previous round. Koto no Waka up against Kirishima. Koto no Waka in the lighter blue on the left of your screens. Kirishima on the right.
Kirishima is the grand old man of sumo. He's 36 years old. Quite a number of wrestlers do compete up to that age, but currently in the top Makuuchi, the top division, there's a whole big crop of young fighters around 23, 24, 25, so he's distinctly the daddy of the tournament. Fairly light, 20 stone, but he's got a long string of prizes to his name. He's had 3 outstanding performer prizes, 1 fighting spirit prize. He's won the technique prize 4 times, so at 20 stone you can expect fireworks from him, even though he's getting a bit, well, I almost said grey beard, but not quite that.
Komusubi there, the level for Koto no Waka.
Koto no Waka has also won a fighting spirit prize, so it'll be interesting to see.
Maegashira for Kirishima. So on paper, Koto no Waka, the favourite to go through to the next round.
This squat down looks sort of fairly easy, but if you try it, it's quite difficult. You've got to get the knees wide. It's not just knees close together, drop your bottom to the ground. It's knees very wide and drop, and try it. It's not that easy. But these wrestlers, of course, are extremely supple, and they practice these moves all the time. But the whole purpose of the crouch is a low start means you can get under the weight of the other guy and push him out. High start is a distinct disadvantage. Now there you see Koto no Waka is back from the shikiri-sen, back from the line. But maybe when it comes to the actual fight, he'll use his weight and he'll get closer to the line, which is the technique for the big guys. Occupy the middle of the ring if you're heavy, if you're light, keep yourself a bit of space. It looks like Koto no Waka got it there at the end, but extremely close.
Kirishima kept him under pressure, and it looked to be going his way right, but Koto no Waka there awarded the victory, and yet another example of the right technique and skill being used right at the last moment. And said Kirishima almost started to feel confident. He thought he'd got it, and then that sweep came in at the last minute and ended those what looked like bright hopes at this point.
Yeah, he was dominating all the way through, I thought. He was pushing, twisting, he was under control, he was pushing Koto no Waka to the edge. But then right at the end, they both fell down, and of course he hit the deck first. Even if the tiniest touch of your finger or knee or whatever touches the ground, you lose. And Kirishima's got his right hand in, very much the lighter fighter. He's got the strong hand in, tremendous lift there. Tremendous lift, couldn't quite keep him up in the air, enough to walk into the edge and push him over. And then the superior weighter, Koto no Waka, took over.
So we go on to the next bout, and that is Kayo up against Waka Shoyo. So an experienced man here, Kayo, in the third level from the top, so it goes Grand Champion, Champion, and then Sekawaki against Wakashoyo, who is a Mai Gashira.
Yes, on paper, Kaio should win. He's got the rank, but anybody could win in sumo, and even these Mai Gashira chalk up the win against the Grand Champion occasionally, which is, I suppose, the big interest in sumo. You can never be sure who's going to win.
Well, so far in this competition, the form book has been pretty firm. No upsets as yet, but the more experienced man in grade is some 6 years the junior to Wakashoyo.
Both of them haven't been in the upper division, what we call the Makuuchi division, that long. They've only had about 100 fights. You can see the ring is fairly slippery. And the action flows backwards and forwards. Kaio looked like he was in charge, but Wakashoyo wins.
So the first upset is that Wakashoyo, who's from a Mai Gashira level, knocks out the Sekawaki Kaio competitor, and perhaps experience gaining over youth there. It was toing and froing throughout, but again, just that little bit of balance right at the end, holding on, managing to get that last technique in, and there, what a beautiful throw.
As you can see, right at the end there, they keep their hands well away from the floor. They do anything to stop touching down. They'd never be sure what the other guy is doing, whether he's got a knee or an arm going down, so they pause at that minute. And then, well, when it's too late, they go. And the sloping sides of the dohyo cushion the fall, actually. They slide down and then they hit the mats below, which give a little bit of cushioning.
Huge round of applause from the crowd for the heaviest man in the competition, Konishiki of the United States of America. And in comparison to his opponent, Koto Inazuma, he really is a giant.
Oh, Konishiki is twice his weight, 44 stone versus 21 stone.
275 kilograms, 1m83, up against 136 kilograms, 1m81.
Now, Koto Inazuma, he's 32 years old. He's been a long time in top-class sumo. He's had over nearly 1,200 bouts, most of which he's won, and is extremely experienced. Nobody stays for that long at the top in sumo unless they're good. He moved up to the top of the Mai Gashira ranks at one point. Now he's down towards the lower ranks. Not too far off retiring, but if they keep winning, they keep on fighting. As you can see, not too much hair on top, thinning out a bit. But a man full of surprises.
And perhaps, Sid, here a point or two about the diet. These guys literally look like chalk and cheese, two completely different sizes.
Yeah. Well, people say to me, what do the sumo people eat? And I say, well, they just eat a lot. That sums it up.
Well, they may eat a lot, but you look now at some very fast, dynamic movements, power, and an incredible amount of skill. Believe you me, both of these performers want to go through to the next round and a chance to perhaps do a little bit of giant killing later on in the competition. Every event, there is money up for grabs for these professionals, and also marks against their name to improve their Japanese grading.
Konishiki's done just about everything in sumo. He's been up to champion rank Ozeki. He's won a tournament. He's won 2 tournaments, which normally is enough to qualify for Yokozuna status. But it's, well, he didn't make it for various reasons. Very popular in Japan. He's, by the Japanese sumo press, his name is Sally. Don't know where that came from, but it's Sally this, Sally that. He's, Konishiki has won 5 fighting spirit prizes, 1 technique prize, 4 outstanding performer prizes. I say he's been Ozeki, almost Yokozuna, and a lot of experience.
One feels a little bit of tension mounting out there because it's taking a lot of time for these two to settle.
Time's up. Well, easy. Koto Inazuma sidestepped him, pushed, and then pulled, and down he went.
And perhaps the example that we were talking about at the beginning, Koto Inazuma goes through.
Well, there he goes, pushing under the chin, allowed to touch the face, and then he sidesteps. And that massive bulk hits the deck.
And our first example that you don't have to be as big as that to be successful in the world of sumo wrestling. The next bout, as we start to come to the end of the first group, is Mito Izumi and Asano Waka.
Mito Izumi's had 1 tournament win. And he's fighting Asano Waka, who's came from the amateur sumo ranks, university student, came into pro sumo at the age of about 21, which usually means they're a little bit more technical than the sumo men who start at 15 or 16.
Asano Waka there in the lighter coloured belt, and Mito Izumi, well, fighting from the east side. 32 years of age, 192 kilograms, and 1 meter 94 in weight. And there's a good camera angle. Clearly the bigger man, 25 years of age, is Asano Waka, 1 meter 75 with just 150 kilograms of weight. But in the bout previous, weight didn't make any difference whatsoever. A very neat sidestep put the biggest man of the competition out in the first round.
Well, if you notice there, when they, having crouched down, when they stood up, they stare at each other, eyeball each other. And sometimes this can last a second or two. Detect a little bit of tension here, perhaps. Asano Waka looking very determined there, slaps his belt as if to say, well, come on, mate, this is it. Some of these characters larger than life. They take a massive handful of salt and chuck it in, and some are mean and stingy and they chuck in only a little bit. Well, and yet another little man wins.
Asano Waka goes through, and one feels that was almost a grudge match at one stage. I don't know where history or recent competition has led these two, but they really were fired up, and his opponent knew he was out of the ring, but still came back for more there, Sid. They really were eyeballing each other with a serious glare.
Yes, Asano Waka really came out hard and fast. He wasn't letting him settle down at all, and it was quite noticeable. There was no rest there. It was hustle, hustle, hustle all the way.
Well, the last bout of the first group of 16 is Kyo Kudo-san against one of the great men from the sport, a champion, not a grand champion, but a champion, which is the second highest level one can achieve, Waka no Hana. We saw his brother, Taka no Hana, easily qualify into the first round. And so, Kyo Kudo-san is the lightest man in the competition. And there is Kyo Kudo-san.
Kyokudo-san. Nick Kyokudo-san. He's got a nickname in sumo. They call him the poisonous snake, Nankai no Haba, which I don't think it's meant to be derogatory, but it's just he has this habit of polishing off the big ones. I think they hate fighting him. I mean, there's nothing of him. They think they can win, and then something awful happens. He's won a lot of prizes. He's been up to Komusubi rank, which is 3 from the top. Extremely strong. 16.5 stone. You have to be to fight the big ones. And tricky. Waka no Hana, of course, at Ozeki, brother of Taka no Hana. One of the famous Hanada brothers, Hanada Kyodai. Hasn't quite done as well as his brother. Both come from their father as a stable boss, runs a different stable, and they've been living with sumo since they were knee-high. Kyokudo-san, of course, will come out like a rocket. There's no way that a smaller man can start casually. Time for business. Well, it looked like Kyokudo-san was going to do it then, but Waka no Hana had him sussed out, I guess.
And Waka no Hana showing that to get that champion status is not as easy as people think, and he left it right to the last minute there to turn his opponent, throw him out of the ring, whilst keeping both soles of his feet firmly placed inside the circle there. Both have a good hold on the belt, both moving very quickly, but there, the skill and experience of Waka no Hana puts the small man out, and quite rightly, he really was like a poisonous snake, looking to sting. But experience shows there, Sid, in a very dynamic bout indeed.
Yes, there you see Owate Dashinagi, overhand grip, forces Kyokudo-san out. He let Kyokudo-san push him to the edge, and then he just braced on the edge and flipped him over.
So the competition continues as we now move into the second group of 16. Musama Shimaru, another Ozeki, another champion, up against Kiraiho. I'm learning Japanese throughout this broadcast. Right at the end of the scale there you can see Maegashira. So again on paper, big man is the favourite. Difficult to tell actually, both coming in at around about 1.90 tall, but there's a 1.96 to Musama Shimaru, 24 years of age, has the weight advantage, and of course Ozeki states that he's a far more experienced performer than his opponent.
Yeah, Musashi Maru there from Hawaii, a fellow American. Top competition, one rank down from the top. He's had one tournament win in Japan. He's relatively young, in fact he's very young at 24. There's no reason in fact why he shouldn't follow Akebono, fellow countryman, to the top rank of Yokozuna. Kiraiho, on the other hand, fairly low-ranking wrestler, the bottom of the Maegashira list. Sashimaru, 31 stone or so, favours a straight push out. Comes out hard and fast, pushes with the arms and the body, and just drives the other guy straight out the ring. There you see difference in size. Time's up. And there you see 31 stone dealing with 25 stone.
Exactly as you told us there, Sid. He really does come out and just focus on the push style and really does use upon or draw upon his weight. And there's a clear example, if any of the viewers out there think this is a bit of a show and it's a form of the more theatrical side of the sport of wrestling, it's certainly the opposite there.
Here you see the body smash that usually starts these bouts. They say the victory, most 60% of the victory is in the initial charge, and Masashi Maru came out hard, slammed his shoulder in, started pushing hard with his hands, and only at the end there did he grab the belt and Yori Kiri, the other man out, nudge him out, force him out over the edge.
We continue to move down the draw. Kotobepu on the left of your screens in the blue belt up against Takatoriki in the green. Kotobepu with a considerable weight advantage. He comes in at around about 192 kilograms to Takatoriki's 145 kilos.
Interesting outfit the referee wears as the bouts mount in status, i.e. if it's a Yokozuna fighting, then the grade of the referee goes up. And they'll wear a more gorgeous uniform, dress, and in a different colour, the top colour being purple, imperial purple. And the refereeing is controlled by traditional houses that go back centuries. They've always got the same name. It's either Shikimori or Kimura Shonosuke. Kotobepu on the left there, like most of the older sumo wrestlers, is married. He's got one son, but not old enough to try sumo yet. Takatoriki on the right. I did a bit of judo before he took up sumo. Quite a few of the sumo men have some judo experience. Takatoriki was sekiwaki at one point.
Well, both wrestlers of the same level, rating or ranking, whichever way you want to look at it. So quite an equal bout here, and perhaps that's why they're just finding a little easy to settle. So on the left, Kotobepu, on the right, Takatoriki.
Well, Takatoriki, he's the technician, so my money's on the smaller man. Well, Nick, what do we have on that?
Well, you can tell who the technical expert is and who the commentator is, because absolutely right. The smaller competitor, the lighter men, Takatoriki, going through to the next round. He'll have a difficult battle because he'll have to meet Musashi Shimoru, the champion who easily won in the last round with that very, very skillful throw. But Takatoriki there putting out the heavier opponent, and he goes through to the first round or the second round at least. Taisho Ho is in the darker band. He's up against Higonumi. Now, Higonumi is wearing the green belt. Another fairly evenly matched bout from both a height and weight point of view.
Also interesting thing, they're both graduates from sumo universities, or universities that produce top sumo people, and amateur sumo champions tend to be, as I said before, be a bit more technical than the others. Daishoho has won 2 fighting spirit prizes, so we can expect him to come out hard and fast, although looks like he's got a bit of a knee injury there. Obviously a lot of Japanese in the audience here because they're making the traditional cries that they would make in Japan. And a little bit of tension here, a bit of aggravation. This is it.
Well, 2 very interesting starts there. Daishoho was way back from the line, and Higanonomi was very close, and it was he that seemed to have the better tactic and style, but 2 complete contrasts.
Yes, Daishoho was driven back, but he wedged his foot, slid across the sand, and broke his movement on the edge. But there you see the leg going back till he finds the edge, which he manages to stop the action. But then, at that point, it looked like he was going to go over, but he was pushing too hard forward, and then Higanomi takes advantage of that, kata tsukashi, shoulder drop, and flips him over. If you push too hard on the edge, there you can see what happens. You go forward instead of going backwards.
Ogenishiki, Asanosho. Ogenishiki on the left of your screens, and Asanosho on the right. Both coming in at 1m84, and Ogenishiki just a little bit heavier at 142 kilograms to 137.
Originally the sumo belts were all the same color, but with the television coming into sumo, then the wrestlers were allowed to wear any color belt they like, and they favor the bright colors. Although in this case we have 2 wrestlers with similar colored belts. And those spiky bits that you see that they fold away, they have no particular function. Sagari it's called. Makes them look a little bit like fighting cocks. But quite often those sagari will fall off during the contest, and the referee will just scoop them out the way if he's got the chance. Ogenishiki, probably the more technical. It's won technique prize once in a previous tournament. It's also down to Yokozuna as well.
In goes the salt once again. East, Ogenishiki, Asanosho on the west. A ferocious start there from Asanosho, and it seemed to pay dividends.
Yes, that was a brilliant example of what they call a tsupari attack, a slapping attack. And there you see the hands come out, first to the throat, then constant thrusting at the upper body, which the other man is trying to deflect by pushing the arms up. But then at one point he simply stops doing that, and the man's weight comes forward, and then he slides forward.
One of the big names next to take to the ring, Takanonami, an Ozeki grade, a champion. And the name means noble wave. Asahiyutaka.
Asahiyutaka.
Asahiyutaka. Japanese is improving throughout.
As in the beer. Asahi beer. Asahiyutaka.
Asahiyutaka is the opponent. So, two big men here with a lot of weight behind them as well. But Takanonami is one of the big names in the sport there. He's just got one more grade to go before he becomes a grand champion, and he's well on his way to achieving that grade.
Ozeki means the big barrier, and it's literally that. Maybe 1 in 500 wrestlers get to that rank, and then of the Ozeki, maybe only half get to Yokozuna. It's a rank you can lose. If you get to Yokozuna, you don't lose the rank. If you start to lose, they retire you, but you're forever a Yokozuna. But Ozeki, well, a bit like Konishiki we saw earlier, the big Hawaiian, he got that far and then he started to lose and he slid back down the ranks. So it's a cruel sport in a way. The rankings are everything in sumo. And every contest, there's an odd number of bouts, and you've got to have more wins than losses. And if you do that, you either stay put or you move up the ranks. But if you have more losses than wins, you slide down. Ozeki, however, is allowed to have a couple of bad contests before they demote him. So there's a few breaks at the top. Normally, for an Ozeki to become a grand champion, he's got to have 2 successive tournament wins, and very few wrestlers have ever done that. I mean, it's possible to get 2 tournament wins, maybe separated, but 2 successive ones is difficult.
Note the change of dress for the change of grade of competition from the referee. And it's not a good start for the favourite. He looks a little threatened.
Takanonami's not doing too well there at all yet, but there's no result yet, and anything can happen. I think the ring is a bit slippery. I think probably they've used local clay and sand, which is not a surface they're used to. It's similar to when they fought in the Albert Hall in London. It wasn't quite right for them. Well, there's the lifting power of Ozeki.
If all else fails, then draw upon the might. Takanonami is the vainqueur, the victor of this first round competition. And as our resident expert here in the box, Sid Hall, pointed out, a lot of the wrestlers do seem to be finding this surface quite slippery. We've seen 1 or 2 just slip right over. And the Ozeki champion, forgetting the techniques, perhaps forgetting the option of going for a throw, and just lifting him out of the ring and putting him down. When you're talking about 25 to 30 stone, if you're watching at home, kids, try lifting Dad and putting him on the other chair.
Watch for your back.
We move on. Kit Akachidoki and Koto Nishiki. On the left of your screen is Kit Akachidoki and Koto Nishiki on the right.
Yes, Kotonishiki on the right there has had 1 tournament win. Has won a whole string of prizes. He's won 4 outstanding performer prizes, 3 times fighting spirit, 4 times technique. So Kotonishiki there, clear favourite. Komusubi ranked 3rd down from the top. Yokozuna, Ozeki, Sekiwaki, and then Komusubi. For some reason or other, Kitakachidoki is called Fudgy. This is his nickname in Japanese sumo. Doesn't look particularly fudgy.
Well, I wouldn't like to call him fudgy anyway.
Not to his face, anyway.
I have to say, brave man for you to say that. I hope he's not listening in or any of his friends aren't. 29 years of age, both of these two wrestlers of similar size and weight, but with Koto Nishiki being the more experienced, a much better track record. So, both wearing dark belts, but it is Koto Nishiki on the right of your screens looking on that starts this bout by the form book as big favourite.
Wow, what a win. That was a judo throw. I mean, it's the same name in sumo, it's called Ippon Seoi Nagi, and it's the same in judo, and you don't often see that.
That really was tremendous. Really exciting with twists and turns.
And now here we have, the judges have come into the ring because they're disputing the referee's verdict, and these are the four wise men, and they're now having what they call a monoi, which is a discussion. And normally the referee doesn't take part in this, and if the referee gets too many wrong decisions, then he goes down in rank. So they've got this built-in quality control in sumo.
Well, there's no question that that was the most entertaining bout we've seen so far. Very spectacular throw, but perhaps Koto Nishiki had to put his knee on the floor to actually enable him to get the leverage on that throw.
Possibly, yeah. Oh no, Koto Nishiki loses. Kitakachi Doki wins.
Hinowaka, Minato Fuji. Let's have a look at the slow-mo here. Sid and I think.
Yeah, look at this turn. Look at this. Look, he turns, catches his arm, drops his weight to get underneath him, turns and falls, but well, you couldn't really see. But I guess his knee went down before the other one.
This is the camera angle that'll explain, I feel.
This was a brilliant bout. There were so many turns in it. Yes, yes, you see the knee touchdown, the right knee touchdown.
And that's a real shame, because that was really creative work under a lot of pressure, incredibly fast. But sadly, the rules state that whichever part of the body touches the floor, with exception to the soles of the feet first, is deemed as a loss. You're out. So not quite working in Koto Nishiki's favor. Tochi Nowaka is on the left of your screens. Minato Fuji is on the right, in the lighter of the two belts. Again, these two competitors quite evenly matched in both height and weight.
These are both similar rankings, Mai Gashira. And Tochi Nowaka, veteran of the Makuuchi division, the top division, 33 years old. He's had nearly 900 bouts in sumo since he first started, and of that lot, 700 or so have been in the Makuuchi division. So there's a lot of experience there, Tochi Nowaka. He's a university graduate, come through from the amateur ranks. When the amateurs come through, they usually skip the first three ranks of the sumo division. They're always experienced sumo men, and they've also trained a lot with the pro sumo as well. The Minato Fuji, he's a relative newcomer to the Makuuchi division. He's only been fighting the last 3 years, of which he's had 80 wins.
Very good sidestep that seemed to Tochi Nowaka Offering him victory. Yoshinowaka there, given the bout by the referee.
Another example of how fortunes can change suddenly in sumo. Yeah, pushing to the edge. Managed to brace the fall and then twist. It's the twists really that flip them over. And look at the look on his face when he hits the deck. He thought he had it. So there you see the twist. It's like pushing a door that's suddenly not there. 1 minute you think the door's locked and you push it and then it's open and through you go.
Well, last but by no means least, the big man himself, the second grand champion. Mayunoumi is the gentleman that has to try and defeat perhaps the greatest of odds up against him tonight, the smallest man in the field. It's a bit sad really, Sid, that the smallest man in the field has been drawn up against the grand champion, the second grand champion, because there is the big star of the sport, now 26 years of age, Akebono, grand champion. As we were talking in the opening ceremony, perhaps now starting to reach the end of what can only be described as a superb career in sumo, but look at the difference. David and Goliath can be perhaps the best description of this bout. 27 years of age, just getting in at 100 kilos, and I've got 98 on my statistic here, and I'm sure they've lied to make him look a little bigger there.
Well, I've got 100 on mine, so it's, what is it, 15 stone fights 35. Put it in British context. But Mayunoumi, of course, like all these small ones, is a great technician. That's how he survives at this level. So you never really know what he's going to do.
Akebono of Hawaii. Really is famed for his push style.
Nirami-ai, when they stand up from the shikiri and they glare at each other, Nirami-ai it's called, the stare down. If anything, the foreign wrestlers tend to do it more than the Japanese, who are very placid. Win or lose, the face stays the same, but not quite so much with the foreigners.
Well, of course, this big man is responsible for taking away the national sport from Japan and causing almost a complete shakedown in the system and the training techniques to stop him from his dominance of the sport. There you see them staring at each other. Doesn't look like a lot of love lost here between them. All credit to the little man. He's certainly not afraid. He's possibly seeing this as a golden opportunity to make a mark for himself. And if David could slay Goliath here, you listen to this crowd erupt.
Matsunashi, says the referee, time's up. That was a tricky start. Akebono doesn't look too worried, does he? Contemptuously flips him out with one hand.
Well, a brave attempt for Mayunoumi, but Akebono goes through to the next round. He'll meet much stiffer opposition as the knockout competition starts to take shape, and of course the organisers hoping that he will meet the gentleman who opened this competition, Takonohama Hana. But there again, drawing on the strength, almost impossible task. And it's all over. The grand champion goes through to the next round. Well, we now move into the next round, and Sid, a question from many of the people who were watching last week's European Amateurs tournament is that the big men, do they get tired? They have to have 4 or 5 bouts to get through, and does the quality of the event start to deter as in a lot of sports, when they've got to perform 4 or 5 times, or do they train themselves and focus themselves for each and every bout?
In training, they have this system of what they call Moshiai Geiko, which means the winner stays on, and which means that the top ones get a lot of training in while the lower ranks don't. So in training, all these top Japanese are used to fighting bout after bout after bout. They have another type of training called Samban Geiko, where they two guys will decide to just keep on fighting each other for 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 bouts, and they vary their tactics each time. So they're certainly used to it in training. In tournament, though, of course, they only fight, so this is the Honbasho, the proper tournaments in Japan, they only fight once a day. But certainly they're used to it. Mainawumi there started off quite interestingly. He kind of came out and then stopped. Then he began to sort of worry the big man. But, well, tried to worry him, but Wate Dashinagi there, overarm, force out, no trouble at all.
Well, from 32, we are now down to 16. Some very interesting bouts there. For me, perhaps the most difficult decision which was made was when that very good judo throw, which we thought was enough to put Kotonishiki through, brought these gentlemen on, the jury, the referees who can change the decision of the referee, the jury I should say, and showing that it really has got an eagle eye upon the whole bout. So the competition moves on as the knockout section, or the knockout element to this event, continues. We will then whittle them down to the second round. And we now again see if the big men whose bouts will start to get harder. We have to say that the draw has been devised so that the favourites don't meet each other until the quarters or semi-finals. But one again of the big stars will be first up, and that will be Takanohana, grand champion, up against Mizugazato.
These two are roughly the same weight, but of course Takanohana is the champ.